Mopar is well known for thinking outside of the box. Whether it be the Superbird, the Superstock Hemi cars, or the long round letter cars, these cars were built well and built differently. But from 1969 to 1973, you could also make sure that your paint color was extremely different as well. Dodge called these colors high performance paint, and Plymouth called them high impact paint, HIP for short, which is the name that it's more well known by. Available at a cost of around $14, these colors allowed you to personalize your car to your tastes. You weren't just driving a car, you were driving a Mopar. So let's dive into the 10 high-performance, high-impact paint colors that were available. I'm going to go over them, starting with the year that they were introduced. Paint codes that start with an E were introduced in '69. Paint codes that start with an F were introduced in 1970. And paint codes that start with a G were introduced in 1971. Now I am going to put a disclaimer in here that the lighting of the pictures affects the way it looks, and the paint match may not be exact, but the cars you see here do represent the true colors closely enough. The first color we're going to look at is EV2. Dodge called it Hemi Orange, and Plymouth called it Tor Red. It was available from 1969 to 1972. And this was definitely a color that was dependent on lighting. In the bright light, it looked more orange, but in dark light, the car had more of a reddish tinge to it. It was a very popular color, and it ended up having a 4 model year lifespan. Another color introduced in 1969 was EK2, called Go Mango by Dodge and Vitamin C by Plymouth. This paint color had a 2-year lifespan, 1969 and 1970. Some people have difficulty telling EV2 from EK2, but as you can see by this picture here, the EV2 is a darker color and definitely more reddish. Another color introduced in 1969 and lasted until the 1971 model year was EL5, which is Butterscotch, named by Dodge, and Bahama Yellow by Plymouth. It's a more subdued color, but still considered high impact. In '69, this color was mostly associated with Roadrunners or A12 cars. There are a few Darts and Chargers here and there that are painted this color. In '70 and '71, the color became more widespread across the model lineup. Our fourth color was nicknamed Spring Green because it was released in the spring of '69, and that was EF6 Bright Green Metallic. And this was released specifically for the A and B body Dodges. It's one of the rarest high performance colors because it had such a short run. Plymouth B bodies used a similar color, but it was coated differently and it was slightly darker. Plymouth called it Rally Green, but it was actually the same distiller code as the 1968 Chevrolet Rally Green Metallic. Moving into 1970, we're going to start with FY1, called Top Banana by Dodge and Lemon Twist by Plymouth. This was a color that was available from 1970 to 1973. And it was a paint color that was not just seen on muscle cars. Now obviously, it was a very popular color on the muscle cars, but it was also available on full-size C bodies and trucks. Another very popular color in 1970 was FC7 Plum Crazy, as it was mostly known by. Plymouth called it In Violet. In fact, FC7 was the most popular color by sales volume. It was only available in 70 and 71, but there are tons of factory-applied purple cars out there, and even more than that were painted that way afterwards. My most interesting FC7 find was a 1970 Valiant four-door that I saw in a wrecking yard. It was a plain Jane car, just like most Valiants were, but it was purple. Unfortunately, it just wasn't savable because the bottom was just rusted right out of it. There was just nothing left. Our next color was only available in 1970, and that's FJ5, called Sublime by Dodge and Limelight by Plymouth. This is a color that is really bright, almost luminescent, and it was a very popular choice in 1970 for muscle cars. Closely related to Sublime is FJ6, Green Go, or Sassy Grass, as Plymouth called it. This is only a 2-year color, 70 and 71, and admittedly it's my favorite high impact color. FJ5 and FJ6 are similar, but as you can see from this picture, FJ6 is a deeper and darker color. Our last high impact color first offered in 1970 is FM3 Panther Pink, which is Dodge's name, or as Plymouth called it, Moulin Rouge. This color debuted in January 1970 and became available as a spring color. It also was available in 1971, but only as a special order 999 paint code. This is possibly the wildest color ever offered from the factory, but many cars ended up being repainted by the first or second owner. This convertible you see here had to be painted before it even left the dealership, and that was a condition of the sale. This color is very rare and very desirable. Dodge's Citron Yellow, or Plymouth's Curious Yellow, was the only new high-impact color offered in 1971, and this was also the only year that this paint color was available. It had the code GY3. As you can see from the picture, it has more of a greenish tinge compared to the FY1 truck in behind it. It was a color that was seen on more than just muscle cars, and that's obvious because you have the evidence right here, a 1971 Dart 4-door. And there you have it, Mopar's 10 high-performance, high-impact paint colors. These colors really add another level of collectability to our Mopar hobby. I'm sure many of you have a story about a car that you might have owned or currently own that is painted one of these desirable colors. Feel free to share your story in the comment section. And as well, if you know of any other oddball Mopars painted one of these colors, let us know. I'm sure we'll all like to see it. Thank you very much for watching, and please come back for more Mopar features. We'll see you next time.